All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's broadcast, Insanely Near 13, as we are preparing to get underway for the 7th race for X League's Porsche Cup series here. Sadly, the car liveries are not loading for me. I'm hoping that they will load properly once we load onto the circuit proper in a few moments' time, as we are preparing to get underway here. But before we do so, real quickly, let's go ahead and look at the championship, the championship standings as they are right now. Not a lot has changed, simply because not a lot of drivers showed up to last week's event at Suzuka, as opposed to today, where we're looking like we're going to have a pretty large field. But real quickly, in the team's championship, still only 3 teams have points. That is the BMW team. They have 41 points. Aston Martin has 51 points. Ford has 69 points. In the Drivers' Championship, it goes as follows. There is still a tie between Tizook and Euro Dragon. They both have 5 points each for 26. 25th is Dolly Hubert with 7 points. 24th is Alpha Rose with 9 points. 23rd is Ryu W33 with 12. 22nd is Simply Clicks with 28 points. There's a 3-way tie for 19th between Parco 5, SSR Quinn, and SPV Matthews. They all have 30 points each. 18 is NWR Arkina with 33 points. There's a 3-way tie for 15th between Indiel Shadow, Sir Brandy A1, and Dex Perfect T7. They all have 36 points. 14th is Indiel Aedolis. He has 1 win on the season and 40 points. There's a 3-way tie between Les Railgun, VNX Ruins, and Dex Carino. They all have 41 points each and 1 win each. 10th is Blue Z Dragon 400 with 48 points. 9th is Front Wheel Drive Jordy with 51 points. 8th is HGR Turtle with 57 points, which puts him into a tie with Inlaid Wheat 51-20. 6th is SRT Jeff DXD. They have 70 points. 5th is Savage 6647 with 75 points. 4th is Octavio ZZ with 90 points. They're on the very edge of the championship fight, but realistically, it's not looking good for them. 3rd is IRT Subaru with 102 points. 2nd is Pip Central with only 1 win on the season, but 104 points. And leading the championship is Lil Kid Suave with 196 points and a win. No driver has won more than 1 race thus far this season, so it's going to be pretty interesting keeping that in mind. We're going to go ahead and take a Twitch-mandated ad break while they are doing the pace lap here, so when we come back, we can get as much clean, interrupted, ad-free racing proper. So we'll be back momentarily here at Bathurst. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Bathurst, as they are in the middle of their pace lap at the start of the event. It will be 28 racing laps once the pace car pulls in. On pole is Dex Carino, but it was close. There was a time where it looked like his teammate Dex Twilight would get it, and then F1R Geekin, who was starting in 2nd position, also was fighting for the pole as well, but Carino nipped him at the very end. Starting in the 2nd row will be Dex Twilight, alongside in DL Violet here. You should be able to see their car right now in that white and purple. After that will be DB and Jim in another BMW entry, followed by Dex Kilutla, then AFZ Miniero. After that will be SPV Matthews, then IRT Subaru, followed by Les Aguirre, who is running right behind them. After that will be Savage, 66.47, and your championship points leader, Lil Kid Suave. Suave just needs to come home in a good top 10 result to maintain most of his points lead, and he'll be happy. Destroyer is also here. He'll be starting in 13th position, followed by Inlaid Wheat. Then will be Wiza 4, and another one of the BMW team cars. After that will be Pip Central, who started next to last in the Liquid Mauling Machine, and Octavio ZZ rolling out the rear of the grid for today's event. And we're going to be keeping an eye on F1R Geekin at the initial start of this race. I'm really curious to see what Geekin will be able to do here at the start against the Dex drivers. Dex drivers have been absolutely fantastic, but again, remember, no one has won more than one race thus far in this Porsche Cup season. If we end up seeing F1R Geekin steal the victory here, that would change, that would continue that. However, if it's a Dex driver, well, it may be a change. That may be the first multi-winner of the season. Everyone is doubled up. Remember, there is accelerated tire wear on as well. This is not going to be a nice, simple, oh, we just make one stop and be fine to the end. You're going to have to strategize, figure out what the ideal balance is between soft and medium tires. They caught a lot of drivers out back a week ago at Suzuka. Now we have a field that's about twice the size of what we had at Suzuka. As they come to the green flag, who is the mountain going to crown as its winner today? Ladies and gentlemen, we are underway here at Mount Panorama. And it is a dead heat as they come down into turn number 1, but farther back it looks like Violet's gonna get by Dex Twilight, and Geekin could not keep it alongside Carino. Now Geekin finds himself side by side with Violet. Drag race as they go down the first of 2 super long straightaways here. They go under the bridge, over a little bit of a hump, the little hill that's on this first straightaway, but it does look like Geekin's gonna hold station over Violet. They are 2 by 2 just behind them. For the moment though, it looks like Geekin has cleared Violet and now is already trying to close in on Carino, but now they come into the mountain section. You cannot make overtakes in the mountain. If you try to make overtakes at the mountain, you are playing a very high risk game with death. The big thing though is that as this is a event which has everyone not just the same car but the exact same tune, this is a spec tune series, it would be very, very easy to find lots of areas to get some good drafting shenanigans done on the big straights. Geekin has pulled up right behind Carino already. Violet sideways off into the dirt, and that's going to let Dex Twilight get right back by. So that great start that Violet has already gone out the window. But Carino and Geekin are already scooting away from the rest of the field here at the head of the grid as they race down the twistiest sections of the mountain, around the corner, and now onto the longest straightaway here. If Geekin's going to try and get the lead and try to scoot off with the lead, this would be the ideal circumstance for him to do so. But it does not look like he's close enough yet. He's still in drafting range, but it does not look like he's close enough to set up for a big move under braking here. Going into the chicane, here comes the move. He's going to try and go the outside, the long way around, side by side. But Carino had the ideal lane through there and will maintain his lead. He'll stay not quite nose to tail at the head of the field. Dex Twilight now already pulling away, and there is Dex Kalula, who's already fought their way by Indio Violet and Deviant Gem. So the Dex team is out in force already. They have 3 of the top 4 spots in the grid right now. Still side by side there, that is Deviant Gem, and Gem is going to complete the overtake on that number 42 Porsche. So Deviant Gem now goes back up into the 4th spot. Actually, that's the highest they've been thus far today. We look back at the lead. Carino still leads. Geekin continues to run in 2nd. Dex Twilight is there in 3rd, watching, but not really able to do anything. Jen holds the inside. Kalula on the outside with Indio Violet watching these 2 go by. A little bit of contact there between Kalula and Violet. Violet has slipped back to the 6th position already. A little bit wide there by Jin. But he's not going to hit the wall, not that time. Geekin seems to have lost a little bit of pace though. And now is under threat from Dex Twilight here as they're coming up to the top of the mountain. Ooh, a little bit, just a small lick of the outside wall there on that right rear quarter panel from Geekin. Twilight follows perfectly through, and this is going to let Carino get away just a little bit because Geekin is under massive pressure from behind now. Back downhill they go once again. Back down the mountain. Another big twitch there by Geekin. Geekin does not seem to be very happy with the rear of the car, with how often that rear end seems to be sliding out just a little bit on him. Still, he has opened up about a 4/10-second gap between himself and Dex Twilight now as they go down the hill, and I think he'll be just close enough to Carino to try and use the draft off of Carino as a defense against Twilight. That seems to be exactly the case. So while both Geekin and Twilight had the draft, they're not going to close on Carino, but more significantly, the draft will mean that Geekin's speed will be high enough that Twilight can't really get alongside. So despite having a not-so-great launch coming to the green flag, Dex Twilight has maintained a top 3 result, all things considered, or at least a top 3 run, all things considered. And it looks like we have a caution early on here, as the pace car has already come out, so someone, somewhere, has obviously damaged their car, hit the wall or something, and now the question is, we need to find out who it was. And it probably was this driver here, Inlaid Wheat, as they are limping down into pit lane. They are not the only one. Destroyer also limping down into pit lane. We'll see if Pip Central joins them, but it looks like it has been a multi-car incident. Also, apparently, Debian is actually Dex Quiros on a different account, so technically Dex drivers hold 4 of the top 5 positions right now. So Destroyer, Inlaid Wheat, and Pip Central all pitting. It appears that there's been a 3-car accident between the 3 of them in the mountain, and that has brought out our first yellow flag here as early as lap 4. So with that said, all of our drivers stay on the lead lap. This should, in theory, be a relatively short yellow flag period. Now, I don't know how long it's going to take for Destroyer, Wheat, and Pip to catch the rear of the grid. So let's take this opportunity to look at everyone's fuel and tire wear right now. 24.6% here for your leader, Corino. For Geekin, the only non-Dex driver in the top 5, 25% on that right rear. For Dex Twilight, just behind them in third, it's 24.8, so they're doing just a little bit better. DB and Gem just lagged out, so they're going to be our first disconnect of the day. 27.6% here for Kalula, and now Violet, who now inherits a top 5 result, they are going to be only at 17%, so it looks like NDL Violet may be running a harder tire compound. That may explain why they were so slow early on here. They were trying to make something happen on the harder tire compound. This super early yellow flag is going to be interesting for them because it closes the gap down between themselves and the leaders, but it also means now that they have the entire field right back on them all over again. And looking back at the drivers who pitted to repair the damage, it does not look like Destroyer, Inlaid Wheat, or Pip Central are going to be anywhere close to being able to join the rest of the field here. So Dex drivers, they came here with 4 bullets in the metaphorical chamber, and already one of them, Deviant, has gotten wet. The powder in the bullet has gone wet, it's gone damp, will not fire. So now it's just up to Carino, Twilight, and Kalula to try and hold off Geekin. It does not appear that we're going to be going green flag this time by. It looks like they're going to wait another lap for the rest of the field to properly gather up here. This also will give some drivers a chance to pit. NDL Violet goes ahead and pits. They went off their medium tires, apparently. Les Aguera is also going to go ahead, jump into pit lane as well, but it does not look like anyone else is going to join Violet or Aguera. So Violet and Aguera are both going to go right to the rear of the grid. For Violet, a lot of track position loss, but they could have a slight tire advantage going forward through the rest of the race. We're going to go ahead and take a Twitch-mandated ad break, and when we come back, we should see the field coming to the green flag here at Bathurst. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Bathurst as we are preparing to go green on what will be lap 6, realistically lap 5, but technically lap 6 of the event here. Real quick, we want to give a quick shout out to XR Monaco for fulfilling pace car duties once again for the event. It is going to be Dex Carino with F1R Geekin behind him. Now, on the initial start, everyone was double filed up, but this start is likely going to be single file. That is the normal style here in this series. So Carino should have a little bit less pressure from behind. Dex Twilight also won't have as many positions that they might lose at the start here. And there's the pace car pulling off. And no, I'm wrong. They are going to be doubled up. No, they're not. Never mind. Out of the final corner and to the start-finish line once again. Already drivers popping out of line farther back. And we are underway. A very messy start. Seemed like the front 3 rows were doubled up, but no one else was. There are 3 and 4 wide farther back. Someone went ghost mode and went right off circuit to avoid causing an incident. And Dex Twilight is stuck fighting with Kalula here. So the Dex teammates too busy fighting with each other. This is perfect news for F1R Geekin, though, who's going to have a fantastic run at Carino. Now we see Geekin looking to the outside of Carino. They are 2 by 2 by 2 farther back, but the focus is at the front here. Side by side. Carino inside, Geekin wide. Geekin could not maintain the momentum. He'll hold on to second, is now under pressure from Twilight. But this is the last overtaking spot on the circuit, and there's no serious room to make it happen. Not this time, not here. Everyone stays single file, but there's a stack up farther back in the grid. 3, maybe 4 cars involved. I think AMZ Miniero may have been one of them. We'll take a quick look. Is there damage? Yes, the rear of his car is absolutely totaled, and there was likely at least one other driver who took significant damage in the incident as well. This is Leslie Guerra. Oh, that's another one. That's the Liquid Moly car. I believe that's Pip Central who went into the wall there. And Pip Central hard into the outside wall at the back of the grid. Everything on the car is destroyed except the engine. So will that warrant another... Oh, and that was another one. That was one of the Dex cars. Was that Twilight? That may have been Twilight who pounded the wall there, and now he's riding the wall. The car is absolutely destroyed. One of our top 4 contenders has pounded the wall, going down the mountain here. We're not even a full lap into this run, and we have had multiple drivers involved in accidents, including one of our top 4. And another Dex driver bites the dust early here. But at the front, it is still a fight. Carino trying to keep Geekin behind him. Geekin looked to the outside, but there's just not enough grip. That line's not ideal enough. Down the straight and into the final corner. And the pace car is rolling, so we are going to go back under yellow flag once again here for what seemed to be 3 distinctly separate accidents. One in turn 3, one about halfway up the mountain, and then another one involving one of the Dex drivers about halfway down the mountain. So Chaos and Anarchy is the story early on here. At Bathurst, it would appear. Dex Twilight pits, Octavio's pits, AFZ Miniero pits. We're likely going to see Pip Central pit as well. And who knows how long it's going to take them to catch back up to the grid. And all of a sudden, Indiel Violet looks a little bit better now. They still have a tire life advantage over the rest of the field. And they've now moved up into the 10th position. But that restart was absolute chaos. We saw somebody have to go ghost mode near the rear of the grid to avoid causing a multi-car stack up. Then we saw, at least, AFZ Miniero, as well as maybe 2 other drivers being involved in the stack up in turn 3. And then it was just a few corners later, we saw Pip Central go into the wall. That happened right about this part of the track, right here, went to that outside wall where it says Solomon Park. And then we saw, just ever so briefly, Dex Twilight go into a wall as well. And with Pip Central and Savage both still being 52 seconds out, I think Savage may have been one of the other drivers involved with Miniero and Octavio's. But it's going to be a long time until these drivers near the rear of the grid catch the front of the pack here. And Dex Carino continues to lead. But Geekin has been absolutely harassing him. Partially because we've just not had enough green flag racing to really let sheer lap time pace try to separate them out. Back down the mountain they go. And yeah, Pip Central and Savage are still both 43 seconds off here. Well, the mountain of Bathurst is a very aggressive circuit. It likes to bite all the time. Does Violet have damage? I do not believe they do. No sign of, well, there's a little bit of transmission damage, but no sign of any serious damage to the car right now. Real quickly, let's look at our leaders and see what their strategies are right now. 45% tire wear for most of our drivers near the head of this grid, it would appear. How many of them are going to elect to pit? How many want to stay out for another lap or so? Well, here's your answer. Carino pits, Geekin pits, Kalula pits, Matthews is going to stay out, Subaru is going to pit, Little Kid Suave stays out, Wiza stays out, Destroyer pits, Inlaid Wheat pits again. So we're going to see a bunch of drivers who had been front runners suddenly be caught in the middle of the field, and we're going to have a completely different set of drivers at the head, and one of them is Lil Kid Suave in the red Milwaukee Porsche. Now, he's already got some pretty worn soft tires. When they come to the green flag, those tires are going to have quite a bit of wear on them already. And now look at Matthews, already in the 50% range when it comes to tire life. What about Wiza here, who's running third? 47, 48%. All these drivers, their tires are still going to be pretty heavily worn. I think Indiel Violet could be in a great position. The problem, though, is that Violet would need to somehow pass 3 different drivers between the start-finish line and turn 3. Otherwise, they're just going to lose a bunch of lap time being stuck behind drivers with more worn tires. Then behind them is going to be Les Aguirre here. Aguirre at 25% wear. Then you get Dex Twilight. One of the drivers who had just crashed in that mess, they all of a sudden look good compared to a lot of their rivals. Yeah, they have lost track position, but they've got better tire life than the drivers ahead, and they've got good track position as well. But it seems like the tires only are able to last about 7 laps, and that's under scenarios where half of our laps, if not more than half of our laps, have been run under yellow flag conditions. Under green flag conditions, these tires are going to be like Swiss cheese. So if we get a long green flag run, a driver on the medium tires, yeah, sure, they're going to be slower on a lap-by-lap basis, but by cutting out pit stops, that could really help. But again, that's all if we get some long green flag runs. If you remember back for the race at Indianapolis Road Course in the GT3 Cup about 3 weeks ago, that just seemed to be accident after accident after accident in the latter half of the event. There is no guarantee we'll get longer green flag runs here. The entire field is all just about caught up now. Octavios is the last driver who has yet to catch the rear of the grid. So I am anticipating that SPV Matthews and Lil Kid Suave will be taking us to the green flag this time by now. And Indiel Violet has gone ghost mode. Something went wrong there. They dropped a bunch of positions, although I imagine they'll be given their spot back. And yes, they are being given their spot back. So our focus is going to be on SPV Matthews and your championship leader, Lil Kid Suave. Suave just needs to bring home some top 10 results from now to the end of the season. He can walk home with this championship. Out of the chicane at the bottom of the hill, we should see the pace car pulling off this time by. And there it goes off. So will the field... Oh! And Lil Kid Suave is pitting! Suave and Wiza! Suave and Wiza are both coming into the pit lane on this start. Well, that's interesting because now it's going to be Matthews and Violet, and the field's not going to be doubled up at all. We're going to be single file, and we go green flag, and Matthews absolutely jumps Violet at the start here. Violet's kind of held up a bit, but Violet now only has 1 car to pass between now and the mountain section. But the gap is so big, I don't think Violet's going to be able to get by Matthews. Violet's lap time is likely going to be held up by Matthews. And one of Dex Twilight already in the 4th position now. And the big question, of course, Lil Kid Suave and Wiza elected to pit as the field came to the green flag. They're going to be in clean air for a long time. I'll be interested to see how that plays out. Twilight trapped behind Aguirre. Now they look to the outside of Aguirre, side by side for the final step on the podium. Who's going to take it? Well, Twilight backs out, says, I'm not going to go side by side in those corners. But quite a bit of mess. Here's Kalula in 9th position. They're fighting with Subaru. There's Geekin still behind Carino. Geekin and Carino have been the fastest 2 drivers throughout most of the day, but now they are covered in a bunch of slower cars all around them now. Carino trying to figure out a way by Mini Arrow, and Geekin trying to see if he can figure out a way to capitalize off of that. Meanwhile, at the head of the field, there's another car at the top of the mountain that's just gone off. I think that was Inlaid Wheat who went into the dirt back there. Meanwhile, at the head of the field, Violet is right there behind Matthews, and Dex Twilight is not that much farther behind. So while Violet has better tires than Matthews, Twilight has better tires than both of them. Down the big back straightaway here. The highest speeds you'll see. This is the most opportune overtaking zone on the circuit. Matthews, his tires already got to have some significant wear. Carino has already cleared Miniero. Here comes the move by Violet. Violet wants to work the outside line. Matthews on the inside. Violet's going deep under braking. Can they make it stick around the outside? They do! Violet goes into the lead! After starting on tires and getting off those tires early on, Violet now takes the lead, and now Dex Twilight looks at Matthews. Matthews says, I've had enough of this. He pits. He can't tell with these tires, how worn these tires are anymore. So at the line, Violet leads. Carino is going to be side by side with Les Aguirre, and Carino has already cracked their way back into the top 3 positions. Geekin is not too far behind. Geekin is right there in 5th spot now. But Geekin has to figure out a way by Aguirre and needs to do it fast so he can immediately get back on the hunt against Carino. And then the question is, how much gap is Violet and Twilight going to open up on Carino and Geekin? Well, here's some of the answer. Twilight going to the outside of Violet, side by side into turn 2, could not make the overtake stick. Twilight looks, trying to do a crossover on exit, but are they going to be side by side? They are! Side by side for a lead, coming up the mountain once again. But no, again, Twilight backs out of it, not willing to push the issue through those corners. They may have wanted to push the issue, though, because now they got Carino there in 3rd, and Geekin is back and 4th. It is Indiel, Dex, F1R, and Les. Those are your 3 teams being represented in the top 5 positions right now. Carino ran just a little bit wide back there, but he's still trying to run down on Twilight and Violet with immense speed. They come to the top of the mountain once again. Violet's just a little bit wide. Twilight looking to try and go side by side, then backs out of it wisely. Riding on board with Carino as they head down the mountain here. Very tight, very technical. Violet just a little bit slow. Here comes Twilight. Again, out of these 3 drivers at the front, Violet is the one with the most worn tires. Twilight and Carino should be in a great position. But here's the thing, Carino now has Geekin already behind them. So once again, our fastest drivers have all ended up at the head of the field, but the order amongst them and the tire life amongst them are all over the place now. Down the mountain once again. Here comes a move by Dex Twilight on India Violet. Side by side for a lead. Violet's going to be the one on the outside. It's going to be Twilight on the inside. Going into the heaviest break-ins on the circuit. Who goes deeper under braking? It's going to be Twilight. Twilight easily makes the overtake stick. And now here comes Carino on the outside. Drag race once again, now coming down to the final corner. Violet's going to be on the outside line, the less ideal line. Can Geekin follow suit? Geekin is right there, side by side, as they go under that low book sales, that low auto discounts bridge, side by side still between Violet and Geekin. But Geekin still has the inside line. That's where you want to be in the first corner and the last corner. Geekin clears up. Carino back up to 2nd now. Geekin back up to 3rd. And then Twilight is your leader. And there's some crazy fighting going on here. There is a little bit farther back. That is Destroyers. That is Octavios. That is Pip Central. Drivers who were involved in an accident earlier having a relatively solid run right now. Les Aguirre went ahead and pit at the end of that lap as well. Side by side for these positions here. Oh, and there's a little bit of contact there between Mini Arrow and Destroyer. But it looks like they'll be able to keep going. All right, we turn our focus once again to the head of the grid. It is Twilight, Carino, and Geekin. Let's look at their tire life right now on lap 11 out of 29. 33% on the rear tires for Twilight. For Carino, who runs in 2nd position, it is 27%. And then for F1R Geekin, just a little bit farther back in 3rd, it is 28%. So it seems like Geekin's wearing his tires just a little bit faster, and Twilight has about 1 lap less of life in their tires compared to Carino and Geekin. One thing I'm going to be interested in is going to be little kid Suave. Suave pit as they came to the green flag. He has been running in pretty much completely clean air ever since. He is going to be able to turn some great laps. While I don't think Suave is in contention for the win, he may try and back himself into a surprising top 5 result by virtue of just running so many laps in cleaner air here. But that all depends on if he can clear Pip Central and inlaid wheat here in the straightaways, because he's just about caught them. This lap has not been compromised by Pip Central inlaid wheat, but he needs to catch them and dispose of them nice and quickly so this next lap isn't compromised by them. That's going to be the big thing for your championship, your Suave. Right now, Suave trying to close down on Pip. Pip has a draft on inlaid wheat. He's going to use that as a defense against little kid Suave. as they come down the hill. Once again, you see this a little bit further back, Wiza, who joined them on that strategy. Also, IRT Subaru now goes ahead and jumps into the pits. Here comes a big dive by Little Kid Suave. Is it too much of a dive? Yes, it was. He'll end up losing the position to Pip Central right after taking it from him. So this is not looking good for Suave because he may have a tire life advantage, but his lap is going to be massively hindered by two drivers that are very obviously much slower than him at this stage of the race. So IRT Subaru went ahead and jumped into pit lane. Meanwhile, at the head of the field is Dex Twilight leading Carino, and then Geekin's just a little bit farther back, but it seems like Geekin right now doesn't have the sheer pace that Twilight and Carino have. Dex drivers have been the talk of the field, the talk of the paddock in X League for both the Friday and Saturday night events. Coming back up the mountain once again now. Ooh, Twilight had a little bit of a bobble and Carino followed it, but Carino slapped the outside wall. It was a nice, solid, even slap. I don't think it would have damaged the car at all, but definitely enough to get your heart into your chest here. And then I start firing it back downhill once again. And now they start opening the throttle, going full bore once more downhill, the primary overtaking spot on the circuit. Octavio's is pulled away. Oh, as Pip Central had an incident. Pip Central may have had an incident or may have at least gone off. They are still running on track right now, though. But that is one driver that Little Kid Suave is by. Now the next driver we'll have to focus on will be Inlaid Wheat. And Inlaid Wheat's far enough back from Octavio's that they may not have to worry too much about. We look at Little Kid Suave's tires right now. He's only at 19% on the tire life. Doesn't have a lot of fuel in the tank, though. That could end up hurting him, though, strategy-wise. Meanwhile, back at the head of the field is Twilight leading Carino. Geekin just close enough to stay in drafting range, but not really close enough to put direct pressure on the top two. Les Aguirre seems to have lagged out of the event now. We'll try to reach out to Aguirre, see if they have anything they want to say, as our leaders start heading uphill once again. Carino still running right behind Twilight, and here comes the move. Carino looking to the inside of Twilight. Carino, again, has a one-lap tire advantage. Could not make it stick. In fact, he ended up losing a lot of time being on that alternate line, and now Geekin is right back behind them all over again. Riding on board with Geekin as they start heading uphill. Geekin turns him! Geekin turns Carino! In turn 3, Geekin turns Carino! Is there any damage to Carino's machine? The car is destroyed! And that's the third different Dex car that has had some catastrophic failure happen to them, and this one has been the fastest one of the day! As Carino backed off to not run to the back of Twilight, and Geekin just ran right over Carino, hooked and turned them in turn 4! And now Carino, with a very heavily damaged car, is just going to be trying to salvage as much time as possible, try to keep Violet tucked up behind here. But this is going to mean that Twilight's going to be under assault now from F1R Geekin. And reminder, Geekin still has tires that are a lap fresher than Twilight's. We'll quickly look at the tire life. 51%. Oh, are we under yellow? We are. We are under the yellow flag already after Carino, one of our fastest drivers, has been wrecked in turns 3 and 4. So not yet halfway through the event, and we are under what is now our third yellow flag of the day. We're going to go ahead, take a Twitch-mandated ad break, and when we come back, we'll catch you up on pit stops, if any happen here. We'll be back momentarily. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Mount Panorama. Pit stops under the yellow flag here has really shaken up the field. F1 Argeekin stayed out. Dex Kalula stayed out. SPV Matthews also went ahead, stayed out. All these drivers with some significant wear. Matthews at 33. Kalula, I believe, is at 45 or so, and Geekin's almost at 50%. Actually, no, Kalula's already at 50%, and Geekin's almost at 50% as well. So, may have been a strategy hiccup, or maybe they'll come pit as the pace car is coming in. Octavio's is going to be moved up into the 4th position. They're only at 30% wear right now. The drivers who had been fighting up at the front for the win, though, Dex Twilight, who had been leading just before pitting, he's now only at 3.7% tire wear. He's got fresh tires, but he is down in the middle of the field. He's going to want to hope that a bunch of drivers pit as they come to the green flag. And then Dex Carino, the driver who got wrecked that brought out that yellow flag, now he's got nice fresh tires, but he's going to have to rush his way up through the field. And again, we do not know what the strategy is going to be from Geekin and Kalula. We saw earlier Little Kid Suave pitted as along with Wiza 4. Little Kid Suave and Wiza 4 both pitted as the pace car was coming in. They pitted coming to the green flag. It let them run a bunch of laps in clean air, and it's really moved them way up the grid right now. Is Kalula and Geekin going to try a similar strategy? They both are on heavily worn tires. Are they going to pit as they come into the pit lane now? If Geekin and Kalula stay out, they likely will only be able to stay out for one lap, and then we'll have to pit just because of how worn out their tires are going to be. I look at Geekin's tire life right now, 53% on the rears. He's got 6% in the fuel tank. Is he staying out, though? Yes, he is. He's not the only one. Kalula is going to stay out as well, but IRT Subaru is going to pit. So will Pip Central. So will Lil Kid Suave. So Suave is repeating the strategy he did earlier. Going to try and run laps in clean air to try and get a jump on the field, but he won't be the only one. We are not going green this time, though. We did not go green on that lap, interestingly enough. Not great for Suave or Pip Central or Subaru. If they were trying to do an alternate strategy by pitting and coming out in clean air, that wouldn't have been great, though. They're now going to be at the back of the grid. They'll have better tires than everyone else, but they are going to have to fight their way through the grid now. But the big thing is going to be Geekin and Kalula. They are not going to have the fuel, I imagine, to do a full racing lap. So Geekin and Kalula are surely going to have to pit as they come to the green flag. What of SPV Matthews, who's ranked in 3rd? He's at 38% on his tire life right now. He also doesn't have a lot of fuel, but if he wanted to, he could probably stay out there for one lap before pitting. Now look at Octavio Z, who's running 4th right now. Octavio's started near the bottom of the grid. They have quite a bit of tire life left. They could probably stay out for 2 or 3 racing laps. Then you have Wiza, who was on that same strategy as Lil Kid Suave, but didn't pit there. He's at 46%. He also could probably stay out for one lap if he so chose. But I imagine you'd want to pit coming to the green this time by. We're likely, if we go green this time, I imagine we're going to see a massive chunk of the field pitting coming to the green flag, and it may go back to Dex Twilight and Indio Violet being back at the head of this field here because they already pitted right as the caution flag was thrown. So strategy madness is coming out to play. That's the thing with Bathurst. It's almost impossible. It's not truly impossible, but it's almost impossible to make overtakes here, let alone clean overtakes. Because of that, whenever you see yellow flags, the strategies get really wonky. And with the accelerated tire wear that this series runs, those wonky strategies become even wonkier right now. Just to really kind of hone in how wonky they have been. Already, we have several drivers in Lane Wheat, Subaru, and Pip Central, along with Destroyer. They've already made 3 pit stops over the course of the race. All right. We should be going green this time by. How many drivers choose to stay out? How many drivers choose to pit as we come to the green flag? I'm going to be watching Octavio Z. I think they have a high likelihood of staying out and maybe leading laps if you're qualifying near the back of the grid here. But we don't know what the word's going to be for anyone else on this grid. But I imagine Geekin and Kalula, they have to pit. They don't have the fuel. Matthews might stay out for one lap. Wiza might stay out for a lap. Twilight and Violet will likely inherit the lead momentarily. Pace car is in. Oh my goodness, Geekin is staying out. Kalula is staying out. No one is pitting coming to the green flag this time. There's only 5% left in the fuel tank here for Geekin. About similar for Kalula. What can they do with one lap on completely burnt out tires with a low fuel load? The field is doubled up in the first 3 rows, and we are underway. Geekin has only one Dex driver to worry about right now, and it's Dex Kalula. Big twitch, and already off track is Octavio's, and there's a multi-car accident. Violence in the wall back there as well. Did Violet get damaged if they got turned to the outside wall? No damage, but they have hemorrhaged a bunch of position. So has several other drivers, but it is Geekin who leads side by side with Kalula. Kalula looking on the outside as they go down in turn number 2. Who goes deeper under braking? It will be Geekin. Kalula tries to cross over. Geekin won't let that happen. Matthews is right there in third now. And now Geekin up at the head of the field. Flies through turns 3 and 4 now. A bit of a slide out of the rear of the car. Kalula looks there. Kalula tries to make it side by side. You don't want to be side by side in the mountain, Kalula. And he wisely decides to back out of it. But now Kalula is under threat from Matthews. Geekin trying to open up a gap, trying to get a nice clean gap, nice big gap so he can run away from the rest of the field. Destroyer and Little Kid Suave have fallen to the rear of the grid. Oh, and there's contact there. Was that Savage? That may have been Savage. No, it wasn't Savage. Was it Wiza? Yes, it was Wiza. Wiza into the wall. Big slide. Now he slides through the dirt, and now he's hemorrhaging time. Has he taken damage? Yes, the car is destroyed. Wiza's car is absolutely destroyed, and now he is falling through the field rapidly now. And Geekin has already pulled a half-second gap on Kalula. Kalula can't get away from Matthews. Seems like on the worn tires, Geekin is definitely Kalula's superior. Here is Dex Twilight, though. They are on significantly fresher tires. What can they do? They've not hit 20% on their wear yet. They've passed Matthews. They're passing their teammate Kalula now, looking up the road at F1R Geekin. But Geekin is already out of drafting range right now, but their tires are already cooked. Geekin will surely have to pit at the end of this lap. We know that Kalula is going to have to pit at the end of this lap as well. IRT Subaru making their way up the grid further back as well. Indiel Violence gaining position as well. There's someone backwards, and that was Octavio's who was backwards. Got to in-lane wheat, got to Violent. There's a multi-car accident. Octavio came flying into the chicane completely backwards. No damage. Octavio's is able to continue, but it's been absolute madness and chaos here. Somehow, no yellow flag despite the multiple accidents we had that lap. Dex Twilight now leads. IRT Subaru now goes into second, and it is Savage. It is Savage, 66.47, who now goes up into third position, and Dex Carino, who got wrecked, which brought out our third yellow flag. He is suddenly back in the top 4 positions now. Geekin pitted, but now he's behind Little Kid Suave. He's going to be behind Destroyer as well. He's going to have to deal with quite a bit of traffic, and he's going to have Matthews behind him as well. What can Matthews do in this event now? Kalula still in pit lane as we speak, as they had a longer pit stop than anticipated, it would appear. Here comes Geekin already making the move on Destroyer. Wants to try and clear him so he can get a nice clean run through the mountain section this time by side, bit of a twitch, bit of a slide. We still have, no, Geekin will complete the overtake. One of Matthews. Can Matthews do it? Matthews going to look to the inside, side by side to turns 3 and 4 between Destroyer and Matthews. Oh, here comes Destroyer. Destroyer gets into Geekin just a little bit. Geekin is sideways to come out of turn number 4. Now he finally starts pulling away as Destroyer and Matthews are back to just fighting with each other. You two need to not go side by side in the mountain section. That is the most important thing, as Dex Twilight has opened up a significant 2.4 second gap on IRT Subaru right now. Subaru, though, has just got to be so happy to be able to run in a top 2 position right now. Real quickly looking at the tire wear of our drivers at the head of the field. 25.7% right now for Dex Twilight. For IRT Subaru, just a little bit behind. 20%. So Subaru's doing better on tire life. What about Savage back here in third? 27%. So Savage is closer to Twilight when it comes to tire life. And then what about Carino here in fourth? They're at 27%. So between them all, I think Subaru has the better tire life of these top 4 drivers. Then you have Indiel Violet, who was involved in a 3-car accident at this part of the track a lap ago, but still has worked their way up into 5th. They're also at 28% tire life right now. But still, Twilight is running off into the distance as Subaru is holding up Savage, and they are both going to be holding up Dex Carino. Carino's not going to be happy about that, but the strategies are all over the place now. It's going to be hard to tell who has how many pit stops left in the event. Early in the event, it looked like soft tires could go about 7 laps, so that was with a lot of yellow flag laps. If we were going full bore all the way through, you might only be able to get about 5 or 6 laps under green flag circumstances on soft tires. Medium tires could maybe take you 7 laps. Do you consider throwing on mediums and hoping that the field gets spread out enough that we don't have another yellow flag? Little Kid Suave has worked his way up into the 8th position. He is your championship leader running on... We are on so many different strategies right now. It's hard to say what Suave is doing is an alternate strategy. He was one of the first drivers to jump on an alternate strategy. But he's just one of many on alternate strategies right now. There were so many instances, so much chaos throughout the grid. And then Octavios, who a lap and a half ago was completely backwards, spinning and crashing at 2 other drivers. They're still on track, still running in the top 10 right now. And then here's F1R Geekin, arguably one of, if not the fastest driver here, although he's definitely going to be involved in some controversy. I imagine he'll be investigated post-race for the incident between himself and Carino, but Geekin has cracked his way into the top 10, but now he's going to find his laps being held up by drivers like Octavio and Little Kid Suave. That is not going to make him happy at all. Carino was able to clear Savage, but they are now being held up by Subaru, and the gap between Carino and Dex Twilight has now grown to about 5 seconds. Subaru wide as they come onto the back straightaway. That's going to give Carino a nice clear run to the inside. Carino is now going to jump into 2nd position. This is the best chance that Carino is going to have to try and run down the gap on the leaders, but for Subaru, this may not be a bad thing still, because they still have a bit of a tire life advantage over the likes of Twilight, Carino, and Savage here. Here comes Subaru looking back against Carino. Side by side, Subaru and Carino. The Dex driver is going to go much deeper under braking. And that's Savage, who went ghost mode for some reason. Seemed like something went wrong there. And in the process of going ghost mode, they'll give up a position to NDL Violet. Violet now closes in behind IRT Subaru as we speak. It looks like Lil Kid Suave maintained 8th position, and F1R Geekin has actually lost ground. F1R Geekin has flipped back to the 12th position, and he's taking damage. It looks like Geekin has damaged his car somewhere. Well, 3 different Dex drivers and now the F1R driver have all taken significant damage, and now he is going to have to jump into the pits here. He was already 27 seconds out of the lead, and Octavios is going to go ahead and pit with them as well. So is Wiza. So Geekin, Octavios, and Wiza all pitting. Did they all have an accident or what? There's still no movement from XR Monaco, so it seems like we are still green at the moment here. Up the mountain we continue to go. About 10 laps, well, a little bit over 10 laps, closer to 11 laps left in the event right now. Watching Subaru as they are gradually hemorrhaging time. They've got a tire life advantage, but they do not seem to have the pace to really take advantage of it. Dex Carino, who started on pole, had been one of the fastest drivers all day long, got turned early, has recovered all the way up to 2nd, but he knows that 4.5 seconds up the road is his teammate, Dex Twilight. Now, granted, Twilight and Carino are not in the same team in this series. They're both Dex drivers, but they are not in the same team in this series. Keep that in mind here. Then you also have NDL Violet being a wild card right now, as they're shunting the car down through the but down the mountain section and onto the straight once again. Subaru completely losing touch with the lead group, but again, Subaru I believe is on a wildly alternate tire strat. 37% tires for Subaru. I look at Twilight here, who is your leader at the moment. 43%, and Twilight also has a bit of engine damage as well, apparently. Then I look at Carino, 44%. They're doing just slightly better on tire life right now, but likely not an entire lap better on tires. But again, if you can only go 5 or 6 laps on soft... Well, that's the thing. If you can only go 5 laps on soft tires, these drivers are in for a bad time. They're going to want to throw on some mediums. If you can go 6 laps on tires, same thing, but you can make the mediums last a little bit easier. But if you can only go 5 laps, you might as well pit at the end of this lap, go 5 laps, then pit again, throw on another soft tire, and we are on our longest green flag run of the time right now. Inlaid Wheat's gone ahead and made their pit stop now, and after making their stop, F1R Geekin is now 52 seconds out of the lead. Now, they do have a tire life advantage to the end, but being nearly a minute out is going to just kill their ability to really do anything here. And one of our championship leader, Lil Kid Suave, he just wants to bring home some top 10s to wrap up this championship nice and calmly. He's at 40% on his tires right now, so he could probably make it to lap 22, pit at the end of lap 22, throw on the mediums, and just bring it home from there. If we don't have any yellow flags, he could be good to the end. Again, we're not expecting him to fight for the win, but he's just trying to bring home good results so he can try and further extend his advantage. The word I'm hearing in chat is that you can go 7 laps on the soft tires, but we saw drivers go 7 laps on the soft tires earlier, but that was with a lot of running under caution flag, under green flag circumstances. I find it hard to believe you could still go 7 laps on the soft tires. Dex Carino has now fallen 5 seconds out from Dex Twilight at this stage of the event. Subaru is now 9.5, almost 10 seconds out from the leaders right now. So any strategy that Subaru may have had is going to be made null and void by the fact that they just do not have any pace whatsoever. And the gap between themselves and Suave is about 14 seconds and slowly closing. And now back down into the final corner, we see teammates Subaru and Savage. Pip Central and Dex Kalula having a little bit of a spat between each other here, as Kalula is trying to fight his way back to the grid, and Pip, who's already been involved in 2 accidents, just wants to maybe hold on to a top 10, somehow pull some kind of result out of this mess of a race. Down to the final corner this time by. It's so hard to make overtakes, even if you're faster than the drivers ahead. It's so hard to make something happen. Here comes a move. Dex Kalula to the inside. Pip Central on the outside, neck and neck. And that will give the position to Dex Kalula. So our third Dex driver finally gets back into the top 10. And all 3 of our Dex drivers are ahead of F1R Geekin at the moment. Subaru has lost the position to Savage now. Miniero is 4 seconds out from Subaru. Real quickly, I want to go ahead and look at the tire life of our leaders. 57% and 3% left in the tank for Dex Twilight. What of Carino? Carino, who runs in second, has 12% still in the tank, 58% tire life. If you can go 7 laps, like what I've heard, Carino might try to extend this 1 extra lap, pit at the end of lap 22 and do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Try to go 7 laps to the end, but can Carino make that strategy happen? The incredible scenes if Carino can go from starting on the pole to being wrecked to winning on strategy. If Carino could pull that off, it would be amazing, but there's a lot of race left, and I do not have confidence in the tires lasting 7 laps like what I've heard. Thing is, if Carino is fast enough, if he's still one of the top 2 or top 3 fastest in the field, it may not matter. Twilight pits, as we expected. Carino is pitting. With 8 laps left in the event, Carino is pitting. NDL Violet's going to jump into the pits as well. What of Savage and Subaru? Savage is going to stay out, so it looks like we will see Savage go into the lead of this race for a little bit now. Now his tires are in the 62% range, so his tires are not happy, but the thing for Savage is that when he pits at the end of this lap, he'll be able to throw on softs, not have to worry about them to the end, but those tires are already absolutely cooked. He's going to be hemorrhaging a massive amount of time, and that's the thing when I'm talking about Twilight, Carino, these drivers, they're already some of the fastest, and the thing is, when you're one of the fastest or the fastest driver on track, as long as you're not being completely, low IQ with your moves, you can make any strategy you want work because you can just outdrive everybody on just poor strategies. So 8 laps left in the event. Can Carino make his tires last to the end? And the thing is as well, even if Carino can't make his tires last to the end, who's going to be around to challenge him? Who's going to be around to try and capitalize and nip him for the position? Twilight is still ahead, though, by 5 seconds, and that's the other thing. Twilight and Carino pitted at the exact same time. The gap is about 4 seconds in Twilight's favor, so Carino is closing the gap down slowly but surely. So with 8 laps left, we're going to keep an eye on the tire life of Twilight and Carino. Dex drivers might be going for a 1-2 finish. The other thing, of course, is going to be Savage. Savage is going to try and make it only 7 laps to the end on tires, but already he's got a lot of wear on this set of rubber. There's only a few more corners left. Really only 2 more braking zones left at the bottom of the hill and then coming into the pit road, but those are 2 of the hardest braking zones to nail here. And Twilight is burning down the Nicotina more, running him down rapidly. Already the gap between Savage and Twilight is less than 4 seconds. If I look at Twilight, they're at 6% right now. What is their tire life going to be as they come out of turn number 1? That will tell us roughly how much of life they lose in their tire in a single lap. And then we'll take the same look at Carino shortly afterwards. Savage into the pits as expected. Even if Savage doesn't win, he is on track for what could be a good result off of strategy. The gap is about 4.5 seconds between Twilight and Carino. Little Kid Suave pits now. So does Matthews. So Suave and Matthews trying to pit now. They know they'll be good on tires to the end. Looking at Twilight's tire life, 8.8% after one lap. If you can get to about 62%, 8 goes into 62, well, about 8 times. Oh, that math says 8 laps, you could be good. Their tires aren't going to be happy near the end, but Twilight could be good on tires to the end for 8 laps. What about Carino? 9. Ooh, that's a little bit rougher. If it's 9% a lap that you're burning up, though, that would be only 7 laps. Twilight might have a tire advantage over Carino. What about NDL Violet, who runs just a little bit behind? They're at 10%, so their tire life seems to be more comparable to Carino's than Twilight. So not only does Twilight have an on-track advantage, they may have just enough life in their tires and just enough management of their tires. They could continue to open the gap on Carino here. It could be Carino versus Violet fighting for second here, and if their tires really fall apart, they could be looking at drivers such as Little Kid Suave or Matthews or Savage fighting with them. Speaking of Little Kid Suave and Matthews, here they are. Suave in the Milwaukee Porsche being followed by Matthews in that Mobil 1 Porsche, as they're now going up to the top, the highest part of the mountain right now. Miniero has snuck their way by Subaru in the top of the mountain, and now downhill. We missed that overtake. You typically don't want to make those overtakes if you can help it, but he went for it. Subaru still on track. They've got engine damage, and that's not going to help them one bit, though. But Miniero has forced their way up into the 4th spot on track, and they've only got 14% wear on their tires. Could Miniero make their tires last to the end as well? The thing is that Little Kid Suave and Matthews and Savage are going to be coming. They're going to have better tires than everyone ahead of them on the run to the end. Twilight likely can make it on tires, and they have plenty of gap. Ooh, here comes a move here, back by Subaru to the inside of Miniero. Could not make it stick coming out of the chicane, though, and Miniero will hold on to the position. The top 3 have pulled out an obscene gap on the rest of the field, and NDL Violet is slowly closing down on Carino. Ooh, Matthews has gotten by Little Kid Suave. Suave looking to the outside in the final corner, but Matthews holding to the station right now. Bit of a twist by Suave. Again, Suave just wants to try and bring home as good of a position as they can to maintain as much of their points lead as they can throughout the rest of the season. He had a massive points lead coming into the event. At the head of the field, though, it is still Dex Twilight, about 4.5 seconds over Dex Carino, and then NDL Violet runs a little bit more than a second behind Carino right now. Then you have AFZ Miniero and IRT Subaru, but Miniero is gradually pulling away from Subaru. After that is Savage. Savage, we know, has tires that will not fall off to the end of the run. Could Savage have a strategy that will get him back into a top 5 result on the run to the end here? Kalula is in 10th. F1R Geekin is in 9th. They might be able to catch Matthews or Little Kid Suave if they have a significant enough pace advantage, but I think they're going to have a slight tire disadvantage to the end, though. Savage can now look ahead and see their teammate Subaru up the road. And Subaru can still see Miniero just ahead. So Miniero, Subaru, and Savage all close enough that if one of them make a mistake, one of them have a bobble, or heaven forbid, one of them time their strategy on fuel or tires wrong, it could leave positions open for big changes there. Geekin in clean air on track right now. What is their tires looking like? 31% tire life on Geekin. I look at Dex Twilight, your leader, just for comparison, as they come across the line, 24%. I think there's a possibility that Geekin may have to pit again before this race is over. Either that or they put on medium tires early, already built up wear. If I remember, I'll take another look at that later. About 5 laps left here at Mount Panorama. The gap between Carino and Violet is holding steady at about 1.2 seconds. That is a massive fall off until you get for the fight for 4th. That is Miniero, Subaru, and Savage. Honestly, we're at a position that even if Carino and Violet bungled their tire strategy and they have to pit again, they're likely going to be far enough ahead of this group that they could still hold on to podium results. 1.4 seconds is the gap between Miniero and Subaru. Then between Savage and Subaru, it's about 1.7 seconds, so they are still not close enough to start fighting with each other. Matthews runs ahead of Lil Kid Suave on circuit right now. The field has gotten very spread out at this point of the race. Wiza for pitting now with 5 laps to go. So he'll be fine on tires to the end, but he's going to be so far back on track position. Once again, we look at the tire life of our top 3. Twilight, 30% tires right now. Carino in second, 29%. So the advantage that Twilight had in tire life seems to be slipping away. Carino is doing a good job managing their tires, but the gap may be too big. We might not see any change for the lead here. The question, of course, is going to be Carino versus Violet. But right now, it looks like Carino has sheer pace and is using that to slowly, it's slow, but slowly pulling about 1/10 or 2/10 a lap on Violet to the end here. The podium results may already be decided, but every spot from 4th to about 8th could still be up in the air here. Savage is now within a second of teammate IRT Subaru. Subaru has not really closed on Miniero at all, though. So Savage really making some hay on that tire advantage that he has right now. Out of the final corner, down the front straightaway, you can see Savage now has a draft on Subaru. I believe Subaru may still have some engine damage as well, and that might not be helping them either. Yeah, 1.8% engine damage. That's not going to help them. But both of the teammates dropped tires into the outside dirt coming out of turn number 1. All right, Subaru has the position. Savage wants it. Savage has a small but noteworthy tire life advantage. Is Savage going to push the issue against their teammate here? Through turn 2, not close enough to make the move here. Does Savage go for a bonsai move into turns 3 and 4? I don't think he's close enough to try it. Sure thought of it, though. Ooh, Savage just lightly taps the inside wall, but nothing big there out of it. Now they're coming back up to the top of the mountain. Ooh, Subaru into the dirt, into the outside wall. Here comes Savage right behind. Does he look to the inside? He does! Side by side between teammates, and Subaru is off into the dirt. And Savage gets back into the top 5 now. And now Savage is going to be looking ahead at Miniero ahead of them. Savage trying to make a recovery drive right now. The gap between Savage and Miniero, though, is about 2.5 seconds. But Savage is going to have some better tires. Not massively better, but they will be significantly better tires than Miniero. Real quickly, looking at Miniero. Tires, 39% wear for Miniero. For Savage, 30%, 31%. So I expect that gap between Savage and Miniero to continue to close. The main focus is the fight for 4th. Carino and Violet seem to be maintaining a gap of about 1.5 seconds between each other, and Carino is not closing on Dex Twilight with any significant ability here. Savage now down to just, 3 seconds out. It looks like Savage actually lost ground a bit as Subaru is still trying to pressure his teammate. A little bit farther back here, it looks like Suave has completely lost touch with Matthews and is under threat from Geekin. So it's all going pear-shaped now for Suave. The thing is, though, I don't know if Geekin is going to have the tires to make it to the end. He's already at 45% wear. He may have to pit again. So Lil Kid Suave may be able to salvage an 8, but it seems like the pace is not there for him late in this running. Gap between 1st and 2nd is still a little bit over 4 seconds. While Carino takes a little bit out here and there, it does not seem like he has any serious shot of catching Twilight. The field is spread out, but I don't think it's spread out enough that our leaders are going to end up catching traffic before this is all said and done and over with. So I think everyone will finish on the lead lap just barely, assuming the in-lane lead doesn't take damage and have to pit again. Yeah, Suave not having a good time of it. Our points leader trying to salvage what would just be an 8th place result. I think he'll be able to hold up still over Geekin, though, simply because I don't see any way that Geekin can make it to the end on their own tires right now. Gap between Mini Arrow and Savage is down to about 2 seconds. The problem, though, is that Subaru is still stuck right behind Savage and still pressuring them. Real quickly looking at Kalula, there's another driver that need to be considered. They're at 47% wear on their tires. I think they could make their tires go to the end. They won't be happy, but they could make their tires go to the end. Geek can make their tires go to the end. He's almost at 50% now. Technically, I think he could go to the end, but those tires will be so cooked by the end. I would not want to be in his position. He's pulled up right behind Little Kid Suave, though. Looks to the outside in the final corner. Gonna try the crossover on exit. No one in the top 10 pits now. I think everyone's just kind of locked into whatever they have rubber-wise to the checkers here. Here comes a move by Geek on the inside and will clear Suave. Yeah, Suave obviously is not happy with how this car is handling whatsoever. Suave might fall back to 10th. But again, he'll have a tire advantage over Geekin and Kalula. Can he make anything of it coming to the end here? That will be the big question. Matthews is starting to run down on Subaru and Savage, but it's unlikely he'll be able to catch Savage. I think he can catch Subaru, though, considering how much Subaru has been limping around most of this time. Savage is stalled about 2.5 seconds behind Mini Arrow. Has not seemed to be able to close the gap any more than that, though. Well, a little bit of contact there. Our points leader gives F1R Geekin a little bit of a shove. He says, hey, I don't care if you have F1R in front of your name. I am the points leader in this series. You will respect me. Bit of a twitch and slide there out of the rear by Geekin. But all three of these drivers keep their cars on track for now. Savage now to 2 seconds back from Mini Arrow, but time is running out. Again, not a great run through the corners there by Geekin. Suave is still right there. Oh, and Suave gets made contact with there by Kalula, and that's going to salvage Geekin. I think that will be enough to let Geekin salvage 8th. Suave went wide, Kalula went to the inside, and they made contact, and that's going to hemorrhage their time, and I think Suave might end up losing the position. He's going to run Kalula into the dirt there. He's runs him into the dirt a second time. They made contact twice, under braking. Who goes deeper? And it will be Suave who goes deeper, and Kalula's off into the dirt now. White flag is in the air. There is no chance that Twilight's caught by Carino unless they have a self-inflicted accident. Likewise, there's no chance that Violet catches Carino. What about the gap between Mini Arrow and Savage? I look at Mini Arrow's tire life right now. 58% tire life right now. I look at Savage, who is running behind them. Tires are 1 lap fresher. They've only now hit 50%. And they're doing better on fuel as well. They have a little bit lighter fuel tank at the moment. Suave has absolutely pulled away from Kalula now. But I don't know if Suave's going to be able to catch Geekin. Oh no, Carino's been caught by Violet! Here we are, fight for second all of a sudden! Carino and Violet on the fight, here for the bottom 2 steps of the podium! Violet slaps the outside wall just a little bit there. Violet's going to have one single shot at Carino. And did not have the run coming onto the back straightaway to really maximize it. How good is their draft going to be? Twilight has pulled the gap open to 5.7 seconds now. Can Violet do anything to Carino, or is it going to be a Dex 1-2 finish? Granted, on different teams, but it could still be a Dex. Drivers coming home 1-2 here at this checkered flag. Into the heaviest braking zone for the last time. The fight for the bottom 2 steps on the podium. Violet is not close enough to do anything of it. Carino does not make any big mistakes to give the spot or give an opportunity back to Violet. Coming out of the final corner, you can see Twilight up there. He's going to come down and take the checkered flag. The fight goes for the bottom 2 steps on the podium. Not a great run out of the final corner for either of them. Carino will come home in second. He will go from pole to getting wrecked to recovering to second. Violet will come home third. We'll have the fight for 4th and 5th. Here is AFZ Mini Arrow with Savage just a little bit behind. Mini Arrow has a track position, but their tires are cooked. There's one braking zone left. Is Savage going to try and lunge it up the inside in the final corner here? Heavy under braking. The gap closes. He lunges it. He lunges it going into the final corner as they come out of the final corner. Come on, Forza, show us the screen. And it will be Miniero who will take it over Savage. Subaru will take home 6th. And 7th will go to Matthews. It looks like Geekin will come home 8th. And we anticipate it will be Suave in 9th. Not a greatest result, but Suave will come home in 9th and maintain at least some of their championship lead. Kalula will be 10th. Then will be Pip Central. Well, it looks like it will be Pip Central and Destroyer for 11th and 12th position. Then it will be Wiza, Octavio's, then Inlaid Wheat will round out the back of the grid. But Dex Twilight is your winner here at Mount Panorama at Bathurst. We're going to take a Twitch-mandated ad break, and when we come back, we'll try to talk with some of our top finishers in this race today. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome you back here to Bathurst. Coming to the party right now is Savage. Savage, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
In the Xbox party, there will be a little box to click that will say include my audio. Can you go ahead and hit that?
Yeah, I've already done that.
All right, Savage. Very interesting run. You pitted a lap later than everybody else to try and come back with a significant tire life advantage. Only ended up in the 5th, but what do you have to say about that run at the end there?
At the end, I was just following strategy, you know, that was basically it. I'll say there was a lot of safety cars, so it helped me out, but there's definitely some people who need to be worked on. I'll just say that. I wasn't really appreciative. I'm not sure if you saw it at the very start, but I was taken out.
I saw so many different instances today, mate. I won't lie. I can't remember a lot of them. You could make a musical crash compilation with all the instances I saw today.
Yeah, I think we had 5 safety cars or something like that, so 3 to 5.
Well, still, fantastic drive out here today. This will definitely help you out with your championship. You're also, if I remember correctly, still an amateur. Do you think this might get you seen by one of the official teams for a spot in the team in the main GT3 series?
In the main series, I am an Aston Martin driver PCS.
Oh, you already have a drive in there. Okay, I do apologize for that in that case.
You're good. You're good.
All right. Well, anything else you want to say about the run that you had out there? Or...
Thank you, Sub.
All right, a little bit unfriendly fire between teammates there, but that was the word from our 5th place finisher, Savage. We're going to wait just a little bit longer and see if any of our other top 5 finishers will be willing to jump in and talk with us post-race here. But yeah, definitely one of the more interesting and more chaotic races that we've had. Despite being significantly shorter than the event that we had at Suzuka a week ago, which was a 2-hour affair, this much shorter, but a lot more instances, a lot more stuff going on track all day long. And we're just standing by right now to see if anyone's going to be interested to give an interview here near the end of the event. We did get a response from Miniero in the chat, but it was quite literally just a picture of a toilet with a supercharger on it, so I have no idea what I make of that. Yeah, multiple instances in the first half of the race, and then the race kind of opened up into a long green flag run from that point on. Really got everyone spread out there on both strategy and pace, but it was apparently the soft tires could actually last 8 laps, although there would be some significant fall off on that 8th lap, as we saw with Carino and Miniero on that final lap, though. Again, we'll probably see, I imagine we will likely see penalties against F1R Geekin and Lil Kid Suave, for instance, that we saw from them. Geekin getting into it with Carino and basically dumping him in between turns 3 and 4, and then Lil Kid Suave trying to run Dex Kalula all the way into the dirt on 2 separate occasions. But it does not look like anyone else is going to be able or willing to jump in and give interviews here. I'm going to wait for another 3-4 minutes here on stream, but if we don't get anything from any of those drivers in the next 3 or 4 minutes, we will wrap it up. I do want to go ahead and say, though, Dex Twilight qualified down in the 3rd spot. Ended up coming up to a victory. Carino technically started on pole, lost 1 spot. Violet up a spot from the start of the race. Miniero, though, up 3 spots. Savage up 6 spots from the start of the race. Subaru up 3 spots. Matthews up a spot. Lil Kid Suave up 3 spots as well. The big wild cards, of course, being DB and Jem, who qualified in the top 5. He lagged out very early on in the event, and Les Aguirre also dropped out of the event very early on as well. Octavio's also ended up technically gaining 2 spots off the back of DB and Jem and Les Aguirre as well in the event. We're just going to be silent for a bit, wait to see if any of our other top 5 finishers want to jump in for an interview or not, but I don't know if that's going to happen here. Yeah, I believe that's going to be all we're going to get tonight. So with that in mind, I've been your host for today's broadcast, Insane Leader 13. Tomorrow, at the same time, you can join us for the GT3 Cup, the big boy event. So keep an eye for us there in the GT3 series tomorrow. Until then, I've been your host for today's broadcast, Insane Leader 13. Thank you very much for joining us. Farewell and goodbye, everyone.